So we need to research, we need to find out who's coming to Scotland, who's coming to Lithuania, who's coming to France, and we need to make sure that there's an arrest warrant for them and that they cannot come here and just, be on holiday like any normal person. So yes, I think we need to change. We need to keep doing what we're doing, but we need to begin now to make the whole world, or every country where we have influence, hostile to Israeli citizens who have been involved in the genocide.
The Palestinian people's determination not to abandon their homeland was clear, as hundreds of thousands of displaced Gaza citizens were seen streaming from the south back to the north of Gaza, defying all the challenges and difficulties ahead, as no homes, facilities, or infrastructure was left there. Israeli massive destruction of the north is difficult to think of. The journey of return to the north reminds all that the return to the villages of which these same Palestinians were expelled in 1948 is not impossible. I'm much pleased to be joined by activist Scotland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Mr. Mick Napier, to discuss that. Welcome to the program, Mick.
Thank you very much for having me, Osama.
Mick, I'm sure that you were watching the Palestinian Citizens March of return from South Gaza to the north. What idea crossed your mind while you were watching that?
I will always remember where I was when I saw those images, because they are absolutely remarkable. I was overjoyed because for so many years, Palestinians have fought tenaciously for their right of return. They have never given up on the right of return. But despite how hard they fought against Israel, against America, against the EU and Britain, all of them supporting Israel, this was unique. This is the first time since the Nakba that Palestinians have been driven from a part of Palestine. The Israelis have laughed and jeered and sneered and said, "You will never return. You're not coming back." And they went back. So I think this is absolutely amazing. I don't want to talk about the heroism, the spectacular nature of the cruelty that Palestinians survived, but the fact that this could be, it's worthwhile asking the question, Osama, was this the high watermark of Zionism? They always won, in a sense, despite heroic resistance. But this time, they clearly have lost, because Netanyahu promised that the Palestinians would never return to the north of Gaza. And they have. So the scenes are astonishing, remarkable, invigorating, inspiring. They show that no matter how superhuman the odds are, how unequal the struggle is, it's the human factor, not technology, it's the human factor that finally is decisive.
Yes, but Mick, you know that these hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were returning to the north. They are going to have, no homes, no facilities, no hospitals, as Israel destroyed over 90% of the buildings, particularly in the north of Gaza. So what do you expect for them in the near future?
The challenge is colossal. As you say, the Israelis have very creatively destroyed, leveled, demolished the means of life for Palestinians, and that was their intention. It was genocidal. But if you look at some of the old pictures of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we remember the atom bombs that were dropped on these cities, they were rebuilt. The Israelis dropped, I think, Osama, the equivalent of 3 or 4 atom bombs on Gaza, and the destruction is incredible. But we have many examples from the past where rebuilding has been successful. There's no shortage of money in the Arab world among these Arab regimes which are kissing Israel, but they still have a population who want them to help the Palestinians. There's no shortage of wealth. There's no shortage of educated, skilled people among the Palestinian people. And so, yes, it can be rebuilt if there is a political will. Now, Israel wants to keep it destroyed. If they cannot bring in Zionist Jewish settlers from somewhere in the world, they prefer destruction and desolation. And America also can never be trusted. But if there is enough will among the supposed friends, the claimed friends of Palestine, then even this Herculean task can be accomplished with will, with intelligence, with skill. And I think all of them exist among the Palestinian people. The determination is there. We know many examples of history where the people have dealt with utter devastation and desolation and managed to rebuild their lives. We hope that can be happening again.
But Mick, you said that was like a failure of the Zionist movement ideology and aim to defeat the Palestinian people in Gaza, and they made their way back to the north despite all the horrors and despite all the destruction, which reflects how much they hold on to their land. But the Zionist regime did not stop the war as it moved from Gaza to the West Bank, and we saw the big destruction happening right now while we are speaking in Jenin, Tul Karim, and tomorrow maybe other Palestinian towns and refugee camps. So don't you think that the Zionism would never relinquish or give up its ideology of destroying the Palestinian people?
They don't want to give up, but I think they may have reached the limits of their power. They can kill. They're very good at killing. They're excellent at killing. They have been killing Palestinians since 1948 in very large numbers. That's not the decisive factor in a struggle for freedom. France killed 1.5 million Algerians before they were defeated. And you know, the Americans killed 3 million Vietnamese. And the Americans won every battle because of their superior technology. But they lost the war because of the determination of the Vietnamese people or the Algerian people to resist. This determination to resist is the decisive factor. You're outclassed in terms of technology. Israel has had 2,000-pound bombs delivered in industrial quantities by America to Israel to drop on, but they lost because of the determination and because of the ability of the Palestinian people to absorb terrible punishment and never give up and to continue. And in a war such as this, morale is very important. The Palestinians are returning to the north of Gaza. The Israelis are not returning to the north of Israel, where the Lebanese resistance drove them out. It's about determination. It's about It's about courage. It's about these human qualities, which will in the end be decisive. And history is full of examples of powerful colonial peoples being destroyed, being defeated by much weaker individuals technologically, but a powerful and determined people.
As you're talking about determination, we saw during the Israeli genocidal campaign against our people in Gaza, many decisions like by the ICJ, the ICC, and different international bodies. And I see the photo of the Israeli occupation prime minister behind you, wanted. How can the Palestinians and the supporters of justice around the world, just like you, give a momentum to this move and keep pressing for detaining Netanyahu and his officials and prosecuting them for the war crimes they committed against the Palestinians in Gaza?
Osama, a couple of years ago, nobody would have dreamed that the United Nations in this way, the ICJ, the ICC, Amnesty International, very slowly, very belatedly would have come out and called Israel a genocidal state a racist state, a Jewish supremacist state, and that the middle ground, that popular opinion would have moved in the direction it has. We would never have dreamed of this. And the Palestinians, by their resistance, had, even before October 23, they had already won the battle for worldwide public opinion. If you measured public opinion in every European country, it was hostile to Israel. And the Zionists were aware before October 2023, the Zionists were aware that they were in a critical situation in terms of public opinion. It's easy to show this.
Yeah.
Since then, it's become much, much stronger. The great majority of British people believe that Israel is committing war crimes and crimes against humanity, despite the mass media here being so powerful and spreading, pro-Israel deceptions. So I think, once again, I come back to this, Osama. Morale is the critical thing. And I think Israeli morale has suffered. They thought, the great majority of Israelis didn't really care about Gaza. They thought they could get on with a rich life and their swimming pools and so on. And they could even go for sightseeing to the Gaza border and witness the genocide through special binoculars. But they have taken a battering in terms of their own morale. They have, I think they've changed their evaluation of the Palestinian people.
Yes.
And there's a greater awareness that, my God, where are we? This is Palestine. We didn't realize these people were so tough, were so impossible.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of, and this changes opinion, not just in Israel, but around the world. So I think you see a political crisis in Israel, and you see an awareness, an increasing awareness in Britain, and even in large parts of America, that the Palestinians are not going to be defeated easily.
Yes, Mick.
And that's the key factor.
Yeah. Mick, we know that the ceasefire deal, and even if like a final agreement is reached between Palestine and the Israeli occupation government to end the war completely, this doesn't mean the end of the story of Palestine, because the occupation continues, as they still occupy the West Bank, they still besiege Gaza. So how can we open the eyes of the solidarity movement around the world to keep the same momentum and the same power, siding with the Palestinians for ending the occupation?
Until recently, many people who were supporters of Palestine, I don't think they had a strong belief or idea of how Zionism could be defeated, of how the Palestinians could achieve their freedom against the whole world, it seemed. I think that's changed now. We are not fighting on the losing side. We are fighting on the winning side. And that future, Zionism is so cruel that until Zionism is defeated, then it's impossible to see freedom for the Palestinian people. But they have lost. They have not been able to defeat the Palestinians. They have not been able to crush the Lebanese. They face a hostile world opinion, and they face, despite the governments in the Middle East trying to get close to Israel, they face people who can switch on and watch your TV. They can watch other TV channels, and they can see Arabs being killed because they're Arabs, or Muslims being killed because they're Muslims. And this energy will break through. And I think that we can now look back. I think we will look back from the future and see the beginning of the end of Zionism over the last year or so, Osama. But
yes,
there can never be peace while you have a Jewish supremacist state and political inferiority for the native people, the Palestinians.
Yeah, a final question to you, Mick. It's a following question. We saw how the solidarity movement and how the activists around the world, they pressed hard to pressure their governments and their parliaments to condemn the Israeli aggression, the Israeli genocide against Gaza, and to pressure Netanyahu to stop his murdering machines. Now, do you think that this international movement needs a new kind of organization or arrangement to pressure the international bodies to keep reminding the ICJ and the ICC to continue its due process and not allow any Israeli criminal to escape justice.
But the key phrase, Osama, is any Israeli criminal. The Hind Rajab Foundation in Belgium, they got an arrest warrant for an Israeli soldier, a criminal in Brazil. He fled Brazil with the help of the Israeli embassy. He went to Argentina.
Yeah.
We need to repeat this 1,000, 10,000 times. We need to make sure that no Israeli criminal, not just Netanyahu, but anybody who's involved in the genocide of the Palestinian people, we have to research that, because they often put their own crimes on Facebook. They're so weird, they're so strange that they don't hide their crimes, they boast of their crimes. But this causes revulsion around the world. So we need to research, we need to find out who's coming to Scotland, who's coming to Lithuania, who's coming to France, and we need to make sure that there's an arrest warrant for them and that they cannot come here and just, be on holiday like any normal person. So yes, I think we need to change. We need to keep doing what we're doing, but we need to begin now to make the whole world, or every country where we have influence, hostile to Israeli citizens who have been involved in the genocide. And I think if we can repeat the successes of the BDS movement in that particular effort, we can be successful. When Doron Almog came to London on one occasion, the police were waiting with handcuffs at Heathrow Airport. Tzipi Livni had to run from a meeting in London because she was afraid of an arrest warrant. So despite the complicity of our governments like Starmer and Trump and so on, it's still possible in some levels of the justice system to get arrest warrants issued for Israeli war criminals. And we have to make that not just relying on the ICJ, but pressurizing the ICJ by taking action ourselves in huge numbers.
Mick Napier, it has been a pleasure having you on our program, just as always. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's an honor to be invited.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. And from Osama Nazal, have a nice time.